Indeed, yes, it was not only our 400 seats in Brooklyn Theatre that we're playing for now, it's the whole world. And that's really exciting because I've made friends with so many people across the globe in connection with this.
Good afternoon, Willem. How are you?
Good afternoon, Petra. I'm really well, and yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. So you are in Brooklyn in Pretoria?
I am indeed, yes.
Okay, in South Africa. And yeah, it looks wonderful there, and it's end of the winter for you?
Yes, the spring is just starting. The buds are coming out.
Oh, is it? That's great. Willem, I read that you have this wonderful project that you do at the as a Brooklyn Theatre. Can you tell me a little bit about this theatre?
Well, the Brooklyn Theatre was a physical theatre for 10 years, but it is now only online. As we all know, what COVID's done to theatre, live concerts are no longer in most countries, and it becomes completely impossible, especially that the fact that we were not sponsored. It was a private business. So, and I keep referring to was, I should say is, it still is a private business because Brooklyn Theatre is very much alive as brooklyntheatre.tv or artmusic.tv, if you like.
So you changed from being a theatre to an online theatre, I would say. So it's more of a, now you're doing streamings, live streamings, or just recordings?
Right. I'm also a television director.
Yeah.
In fact, I was the person responsible for the Mandela concert in 1994. I did the multi-camera television direction for that with 36 cameras. So it's very much in my blood to do recordings, yes. And of course, I recorded many operas and symphony concerts in the past, and I've kept up my television career. I was doing freelance work while we even had the theatre. But the important thing to remember is that online, we do get concerts from other countries. We work with some embassies, but we record most of our stuff. So in May 2020, we started brooklyntheatre.tv. And my one colleague, Daniel Vos, asked me to do a program called Willem's Choice, or in Afrikaans, Willem's Keuse. And this is a weekly program where I feature videos that I get from wherever. I tell stories, I introduce new concepts, I introduce new programs, I introduce new music, or old music, if you like. And then we put one of those programs on per week. So I'm now recording this week my 74th Willem's Choice. Their programs are between 30 and 50 minutes. And then also every week we add a new concert. So that's either an imported or a concert from somewhere else. For instance, the Cape Town Philharmonic also put their concerts on our site. And other than that, we record chamber music concerts. We record our own orchestra. Our own orchestra, which we started 6 years ago, is the Gauteng Philharmonic Orchestra. And that was housed inside Brooklyn Theatre. But of course, it's a nonprofit organization, which is still in existence. So we are now recording at the M1A in Johannesburg at our broadcasting station, the SABC. And that's a really nice place to record an orchestra. And yeah, so we put those concerts on to the platform. The platform is much like Netflix, or it is like Medici TV. So it's the platform where you can subscribe, you can belong to it, and then pay a monthly fee. In South Africa, 400 Rand, which is about, I think, €3, if I can make that joke. It's not entirely that, but our Rand is not very strong. And then, of course, you can buy individual concert tickets, or if you're a monthly subscriber, you can watch every single thing on the platform. And at this point, we have about 140 products on the platform, which one could watch if you're interested in classical music.
That's amazing. And these programs and these concerts that you watch, is it that you get from all over the world? Or is it
Yes.
all based from South Africa?
No, we worked a lot with embassies, so we do have some international concerts and then from other people in the country, but we record a lot of it ourselves with, of course, our own cameras and our own TV team, and we do our own editing, and of course I do all the conceptualization for the actual programs. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, this sounds amazing. And is this now going to be the future for this theater, shall I say, the online theater, or do you think that live concerts will happen again?
That's a really difficult question. But, you know, I think the entire world has really been hit hard by the economy. The pandemic has really brought about a lot of problems financially for people. And I think buying concert tickets at this point in time is very low on people's list. So we don't expect any dynamite, and we don't expect people to suddenly start running to theaters. I think it's going to take 2, maybe 3 years for things to get back to normal. That's only my guess.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken to a conductor during the pandemic. I've spoken to a conductor, and he actually predicted 5 years until we see real full orchestras again and the full concert halls like it used to be. So yeah, so it will probably take a while for things to get back to normal again.
Yes, I would agree with him, really.
Yeah.
I was being conservative saying 3 years.
Yeah. So tell me about this new project that you have, that you're launching on Friday.
Yes, it's very exciting. The composer Carl Czerny started in our lives as part of our piano extravaganzas. So we used to do an annual piano extravaganza at Brooklyn Theatre with 4 grand pianos and 8 pianists. And then we would do a variation of works, either piano duets or 2 piano works or 3 people at a piano. I did a lot of arrangements myself, but of course, Carl Czerny is one of those people who wrote a lot of things for multiple pianos. And of course, he did arrangements, and of course, he wrote original works, of course. He, for instance, wrote a sonata for 4 pianists at 4 pianos. They were 4 brilliant students whom he taught, and they were noble ladies, and they were excellent pianists. And of course, those works are extremely difficult. But we found pianists here in South Africa, and we used to put together a different group every year. And that way, we, shall I say, sparked the taste for Czerny in our theatre, and people started liking Czerny. But then we also had a classical CD shop, which was first in Brooklyn Mall and then in our theatre as part of the foyer of the theatre. And in 2003, I heard this Nonet, a composition for 9 instruments. I should rather say it's more of a piano concerto for the pianist. And then there's a string quintet and 3 woodwinds, bassoon, English horn, and clarinet. That's one of the more serious original works that Czerny wrote. And the interesting thing is that the music is the sheet music was in the city theater, city library in Vienna. And I'm guessing that recording was made with handwritten parts.
Really?
Because the music was not to be found anywhere. So then many years later, in fact, in 2019, the Harvard Association of Music, led by a guy called Eisenman, commissioned a young chap, Matthew Dordino, to make musical parts on the Sibelius, on on the computer for the specific piece. And he then made the parts and he put them on the Patrici Music Library. And my search for this music, because I really wanted to do this piece, ended into, well, just this year when I saw this music was actually there and it's available free of charge. And we printed out the parts and we got the players together. And with some financial aid from the Rupert Trust in South Africa, they do support some of our projects. We were able to do this and put it in a program with the TROUT Quintet by Schubert. But the Nonet is really an amazing work. It really is tuneful. It really is clever writing and has an incredibly difficult piano part. And of course, the next block was to find a pianist who could actually play this piece and who would be prepared to learn it. And we found Peter Cartwright, who is really an amazing pianist, and he's working at the University of the Witwatersrand. And he started learning the piece, and then he was struck down with COVID, and we had to postpone our date, yes. And then he luckily didn't get so ill, and he could then proceed learning the piece. And we recorded this 2 weeks ago, and we just finished editing it today. And of course, it goes online on our platform on Friday night.
Oh, but this sounds amazing that you found it that way, that you found this music this way.
That's true. And the recording that was made by Consortium Classicum in 1995 is the only recording, not a video recording. It's only a sound recording on CD, and it's available to purchase. But nobody's ever done this piece, and nobody put it on YouTube. So the video recording world premiere is going to be ours this week.
That's very exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Because this is what I find so wonderful, is like these pieces, you know, that's not regularly played or seen or you know, heard, and that you are able to do that or found that and be able to play that and present that in this way. And what is so amazing is that because it's online and you say it's a world premiere, it would be because now, of course, you can reach audiences that you otherwise in South Africa wouldn't have been able to reach had it been just in the theatre.
Indeed, yes, it was not only our 400 seats in Brooklyn Theatre that we're playing for now, it's the whole world. And that's really exciting because I've made friends with so many people across the globe in connection with this. I chatted to the guy who actually did the transcription. He lives in Colorado. His name is Matthew Dordeen, and he's putting me in touch with the Harvard Musical Association. And I also found this Canadian pianist, Anton Querty. He's quite old now. I think he's in his 80s, but he's a really famous Canadian pianist. And he was the guy who had a full Czerny Festival in 2002 in collaboration with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. And there was just so much enthusiasm for our having done this project and doing a piece which, well, of course, you know, it's so easy these days. If you go onto YouTube, you can literally find most things, you know, as you probably know yourself. If you're wanting to listen to a piece of music that might be obscure, you probably will find somebody's done it. But to actually do a complete world premiere is quite an achievement, I think.
No, definitely. Now, I think it is. This is very exciting that you're able to do that. And tell me a bit more about your musicians that are involved.
Well, of course, most of them are in our orchestra.
Yeah.
So the oboe player in this specific nonet only plays on the English horn, on the cor anglais. And he, of course, I always say he's one of the rocket scientists in our orchestra because he's an actuary and he teaches actuarial science at the University of Pretoria, Johan Ferreira. And of course, he bought himself a very beautiful cor anglais in Paris some years ago, and he's still a young guy. and he plays that. Then our leading clarinetist, Lizette Smith, is really a brilliant player. And we have a Canadian bassoonist who is now South African, Esther Watkinson, and then a string quintet of South Africans, quite a few Afrikaans people, and then, as I said, Peter Cartwright, who is the pianist.
And this orchestra, are they your fixed orchestra? Or do you get other musicians in as well at times to play for other concerts?
Yeah, well, the musicians had to do auditions to be part of the Gauteng Philharmonic Orchestra. So there is a set group of players. But as it goes in, I think, a lot of countries, you may find that if you're wanting extra instruments like trombones or an extra set of horns or something like that, you have to get in players from outside. We have a set orchestra who would be very happy to play a Beethoven or a Mozart symphony. But as soon as we go into the romantic repertoire, where there are a lot more instruments needed, we have to get outside players in. But of course, we know them and they have played for us before. So they're really part of the group. And of course, that's our next recording project, which is next weekend, this coming weekend. We're recording a symphony concert with the Gauteng Philharmonic Orchestra in the same venue where we recorded the Nonet. And that will have a very exciting program of the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini for piano and orchestra, the Schubert Rosamunde ballet music, and the Carmen Suite No. 1, and also a Dvorak Slavonic dance.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So that's next, you're going to record this next weekend, and then when will that be online?
I think that launches towards the end of September.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, this sounds as if you are really busy and recording and getting things out there. So this is your full-time project.
It is indeed, yes. We're 3 people, myself, Daniel Vos, and Jean-Pierre Verster, who does our marketing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to talk about these platforms. You know, the interesting thing is that it's all out there. And I think what we've got on the platform is really excellent and of an exceptionally high quality, both from a filming point of view as well as from a musical point of view.
Yeah.
But the sad part is that people who supported our live concerts, and let me tell you, there were many. We have a database of about 100,000 people. To get these people to make a mind switch to now go online is very difficult, because some of them are kind of technically hamstrung and, find it difficult to put something like that onto their television, or they end up watching it only on their computer or only on their phone. It's a whole education process, which we're going through at the same time, with Jean-Pierre even visiting people's homes and helping them set up themselves so that they can watch our platform. I think it's something that people need to get used to, because as you said, we may take 3 or 5 years before we have live concerts again. And we have our clients who come to us every Saturday. We've also got a market, which used to be outside our theater, which we've now moved to another venue. And of course, we see a lot of our regular supporters. And a lot of people say, I can't do it. I just don't want to make the step. I want live concerts. And we keep saying to them, but it's really important. It's important, firstly, for us to create the work for the South African classical musicians. But also it's important for you to support it. Otherwise, we can't keep going, So, that's the hard part. But we're really trying our utmost.
Well, this is during the pandemic, what I spoke to many musicians over the world. And of course, the live concerts are very important and people want that. But I think we've discovered also that the online concerts are as important, because it reaches then an audience that you otherwise wouldn't have reached. And also in places, and I think of South Africa, for example, there are many small towns where people just cannot get to a theater. I mean, Pretoria it's accessible. In normal times, it would have been accessible to come to your theater, but we're talking about places like Graafrenet, for example, or Richmond, or these Karoo towns where for people there to get to a theater, it's close to impossible. So for this market in South Africa, I think it is wonderful that you are providing this service and also then reaching the rest of the world as well. To have this connection with South Africa and South African musicians.
Now that is indeed true. And while we were at the theatre, we worked a lot with the embassies. So we have a lot of overseas contacts. And in fact, some of the embassies have supplied material for our platform, which is really positive.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I think you're doing wonderful work. And I want to ask you now also, because I've spoken to a lot of South African artists as well. And the situation of the arts in South Africa, what is your feeling there? Do you feel positive for young musicians studying? Do you think there's jobs for them or a career for them in South Africa?
I have mixed feelings. I'm very proud of the young people who are in our orchestra, and our orchestra consists mostly of young people and very talented young people at that. I think, well, of course, most of them have other jobs, so that they would be teaching, but at the same time playing on a freelance basis for orchestras.
Yeah.
And from that point of view, yes, I think they can keep going, providing that people get used to the online platform situation. Politically in this country, it's very difficult. Of course, music is not taught in schools anymore. There are some music centers at some schools, but very few. But, that never takes away the fact that there might be some fantastic talent lurking around some corner in some town in South Africa. And there always are people who come forth and they end up at the university and study music because this is really what they want to do, and this is what they were born for. So one can never stop it, and I don't think one ever should. The prospects are not rosy, but then I think the prospects for many other jobs during the pandemic are not rosy. So I suppose it weighs up like that. Yeah.
I spoke to Sonny Boyd Ladla, who is now in Germany, and he comes from a very small town in, I think, Pietertief, if I'm not mistaken. And
like Pretty Yende.
yeah. And they sang in a choir and ended up, studying music. But I mean, of course, now they're in Europe. But I'm thinking of many young musicians who would love to stay in South Africa and would like the possibility to know that there's a future for them, at least to be able to do music or to sing or do some sort of art. But do you think there's also a bit of for younger children, the classical music, how do you connect? Do you have a lot of younger audience members, or are you thinking your audience are more, say, older generation,
Yes, I know exactly where you're going, because if you're watching any concert on YouTube or any video of a concert all over the world, and you look at the audience, you see gray hair.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that is a fact. We were very fortunate in the theater because we started with, I don't know if you know Kindermusik, a program where young kids are taught, and not as though it was Kindermusik. We had a very exceptional lady who taught children along the lines of Kindermusik, but I think just much more specialized. And we actually created a school for her in our theater.
Really?
And there were young kids who came every single day, kids between 3 and 7 years old. And that happened for the last 3 years in the theater. And what actually happened there was their parents started coming to the theater, to our productions. So we literally managed to push down the age of our concert-going public to somewhere between 40 and 50 maybe, as opposed to 60, 70 or 80, wherever else in the world. And that gave us a lot of extra patrons who were very positive about what was going on in our theater. And they used to come to our operas and our symphony concerts and our chamber music. And they were suddenly exposed to this because of the fact that their children were involved in this program in our theater. So that way, we did get younger people, and I think they are still our clients.
Yeah. Well, I've actually heard this from somebody also before that said that the moment you get the children involved, the parents start coming. And
yes.
But I've spoken to a conductor in Jacksonville the other day, and he also he works with the youth, and he had this wonderful online program where he to reach children, and you know, they have this project. Can you see something like that also happening in your online now? The online say theater, that you can reach children, say for example, in that way, or a younger audience?
Indeed, this has always been a really important mission for us, to reach younger children. We have on our Salon Music label, we actually have a video of the Carnival of the Animals and Peter and the Wolf with our orchestra. So we used to have an annual children's concert. And we also involved these young children who were on the program. And they would come up and do the toy symphony with the orchestra. And yes, I think there's so much space for this to be done online, you know, and get in touch with, for instance, homeschoolers. We were involved with the homeschoolers, and those parents very often just don't know where to turn to expose their children to classical music. And of course, if this can be online, it's so much easier. So I think what you've said there is certainly true.
But tell me about this market, because this is something about South Africa. People are always so creative and doing things and finding solutions. You know, I think this is something that is very typical of the country. So what is this market that you have, or that you had outside the theater?
Yes, it started off as Hazel Food Market, and then we developed, over a period of 10 years, we developed the Arts and Crafts Market to go along with it. So it ended up being half food market, half crafts market. And of course, people in South Africa, we have good weather and people love doing things outside. So we had quite a space around the theater, and we started the market. So when we left the venue last year at the end of August, we luckily found a perfect space, virtually 2 kilometers away, where the Old Boys Society of the Pretoria Boys High actually have a property, and it's a club, it's a sports club. And there are beautiful trees and beautiful fields and a clubhouse. And we are renting that space from them now, and we've moved the entire market there. And at full capacity, the market is 70 stalls of food and 70 stalls of crafts. So you end up with having 140 stalls. Yes. And these are really hand-picked stalls. We are very proud of the market. We don't just allow anybody things. For the crafts market, you must be able to say that you made your product yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously the same with the food is made there. And it's very international. I mean, we have a Dutch stall, we have a Polish stall, and we have an Italian stall. So that gives it a very international flavor. And of course, we have a lot of the international people in Pretoria who support the market. So yes, this we do every Saturday from 8 until 2 o'clock. And it's really popular.
It's wonderful how you connect the art, you know, it's like this, because these handmade and these crafts. And I even think I was talking to many artists who say that they started cooking during the pandemic. And I think this is art, you know, to cook and to create. And I think this is so in us to be so creative. So I think this is wonderful what you're doing. And this, what the theatre is doing, and in the community as well. So congratulations with that.
Thank you very much. It's also very important for people at this point to earn money, because a lot of people are prepared during the pandemic to come outside to shop, not necessarily inside. And we've certainly found that markets have picked up because of the pandemic.
Of course, yeah. But Willem, this was now so interesting to talk to you. I would so love to follow what you are doing, and if you can keep me updated with the latest projects, and I can put it on the Artist Voice, so that you could maybe also reach an international community. That would be wonderful.
Well, I would say endeavors like yours, which I also find absolutely admirable, I think that all helps to promote what we do and get it out there so that people can actually watch and be part of this. Yeah.
No, so really, gladly, anything. I'm trying to shine some light also on South African art and artists, so that would be wonderful if you can keep me updated with that.
I will indeed. And of course, I'm sure you will tell people that our site is www.artmusic.tv. And of course, they can visit it. Yeah.
I will put the link on the description, and all the information about your theatre or your online production, this production that we were talking about now.
Thank you so much.